Recite al-Fatiha, please. عظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمصابنا باستشهاد أبي عبد الله الحسين ورزقنا الله وإياكم من الطالبين بأهله بين يدي الإمام المنصور المؤيد المهدي من آل محمد. On the morning of Ashura, Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam led his companions in the final Fajr prayer of their lives. He then stood up and praised Allah and said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained that you and I will be slaughtered today. So I urge you to persevere and fight bravely. Imam al-Hussain then lined up his soldiers. There were 82 infantrymen and horsemen all together. He then appointed Zuhair ibn al-Qayn to lead the companions on the right flank and Habib ibn Mudahir to lead the companions on the left, while he kept himself and his family in the middle. He then gave his banner to Abbas because he was the bravest and the strongest of all of them. Umar ibn Sa'ad likewise appointed Amr ibn Hajjaj al-Zubaydi to lead the right flank, Shimr ibn Dhil Jawshan to lead the left, Uzra bin Qais al-Ahmasi to lead the army of his servant, to lead the horsemen, and Shib'if ibn Rib'i to lead the infantry. And he gave the banner to his own servant, Thuwaid. On that morning, Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam went to the ditches behind his own camp, and he instructed his soldiers to light many fires in these trenches. When the enemies of Allah came trying to come around the tents of Imam al-Hussain, they were dumbfounded by the fire. Shimr ibn Dhil Jawshan screamed, Hussein, are you trying to go quicker towards the fire of Day of Judgment by going into the fire of dunya? Imam al-Hussain inquired, is this the sound of Shimr ibn Dhil Jawshan? And someone said, yes, it is. Imam al-Hussain said, you are a loser in this life, and in the next life, hellfire is surely your destination. Muslim ibn Awsaja then aimed with his bow and arrow at Shimr to shoot at him, but Imam al-Hussain lowered his bow for him and stopped him and said, I despise the initiating of war. After this, Imam al-Hussain rode his horse towards his enemies, and he spoke loudly. This is one of the miracles of Imam al-Hussain, one of many miracles that day, where his voice, without a microphone, without any sound system, everyone could hear him as if they were standing next to him. And each one of them could narrate the same speech back to you. He said, Ya Nas, hold your horses and listen to my words. It is my duty to advise you and explain to you why I've come here. Assess my words justly, listen carefully, and then do what you will. But if you believe me, you will conclude that your enmity cannot be ever justified. If you, however, decide to be unjust, then, and he goes and quotes the ayat of the Quran, make your plans firm and go and be amongst with each other, firm with your decision, and don't give me any respite. And my guardian is Allah, who has revealed the book, and He indeed is the best of guardians, and He is the guardian of the righteous. At this point in the speech of Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam, the women in his camp started weeping profusely when they heard these words. He sent Al-Abbas and Ali al-Akbar, saying, go and calm them down. By Allah, soon they will weep plenty. As the woman calmed down, Imam al-Hussain resumed speaking. Amongst the words, he said, people, learn who I am. Judge for yourselves and assess if it is permissible for you to murder me and violate my sanctity. Am I not the grandson of your prophet and the son of his successor and cousin, who was the first of the believers in the divine revelation? Is not Hamza, Sayyid al-Shuhada, my father's uncle? Is not Ja'far al-Tayyar, my uncle? Weren't you informed by the Prophet when he pointed at my brother and me, saying that we are the masters of the youth of heaven? You should trust me because I always speak the truth. I am truthful because Allah hates and despises the liars. If you are still doubtful, then go and ask the people who are among you in your city, Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari, Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, Sahl ibn Sa'ad al-Sa'di, Zayd ibn Arqam and Anas ibn Malik. All of them will confirm that he said this about me and my brother. Shimr interjected and tried to cut off his speech and said, Hussein only worships Allah conditionally, ala harf. He sometimes worships him and sometimes he chooses what he wants to do. And he does not want to go and give the bay'ah to the rightful leader. Habib answered Shimr, by Allah, you are so disloyal to Allah. I bear witness that your veiled heart can never understand what Hussein said. Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam tried as much as he could, but he could not get through to their hardened hearts. Eventually, the killer of Muslim ibn Aqil came and said, why do you try to give us admonition? Why don't you just accept your cousin's leadership? You know by Allah they will treat you well and they will never harm you and they will give you everything you want in this dunya. Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam answered him, you are just like your brother. Do you want Banu Hashim to charge you with more than the blood of Muslim ibn Aqil? No, by Allah, I shall never surrender and humiliate myself until I am killed. Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam now gets off of his horse and goes back to his camp. From Umar ibn Sa'ad's army, they see that this is the time now to start marching towards Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam. Abdullah ibn Hawza al-Tamimi screams, where is Hussein? He screams this once. He screams this a second time. He screams it a third time, until Imam al-Hussein's companions replies, this is Hussein, what do you want from him? He says, Hussein, I want to be the first one who gives you the glad tidings that soon you will be burned by hellfire. Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam says, you are a liar. I shall return to a forgiving and generous, absolute and mighty and merciful Lord. Name yourself, O man. He says, I am Ibn Hawza. Imam al-Hussain lifted his arms such that the abba fell from his arms and his bare biceps could be seen. And he starts to go and make the dua, saying, oh Allah, drag him now into the fire. Ibn al-Hawza became enraged at this dua and charged his horse towards Imam al-Hussain. On his way, he started losing his balance. And in the process, his body started hanging on one side of the horse while his foot remained stuck in the stirrup of the horse. The horse ran around, not having clear directions from his rider, cutting off his leg, while the rest of his body was still hanging sideways on the saddle. The horse smashed him into the rocks and trees and finally threw him into the raging fire of the trench behind Imam al-Hussain. Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam immediately went into sujood and thanked Allah for immediately answering his dua. Then Imam al-Hussain loudly said, oh Allah, we are the Ahlul Bayt and the descendants of your Rasul. We are the closest of the messengers, Prophet's family. Destroy those who oppressed us and usurped our rights, for you are close and attentive to us. At this point, Muhammad ibn al-Ash'ath sarcastically asked Hussein, what family is there between you and Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi? Hussein said, oh Allah, Muhammad ibn Ash'ath of all people, the son of the one who plotted the murder of my father Ali ibn Abi Talib, the one who his brother killed Muslim, his sister Ja'da was the one who killed my brother. Now he comes and asks me, what is my relation to Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi? Oh Allah, allow me to see a wrath befall him soon. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala immediately answered the prayer of Imam al-Hussein. Muhammad ibn Ash'ath went to a secluded area to relieve himself in the bathroom. A scorpion came and fatally stung him. He died smeared with his own waste, and he died without clothing on him. Masruq ibn Wa'il al-Hadrami narrated, I rode my horse to the forefront of the battlefield, hoping to see al-Hussein's head delivered to Ibn Ziyad and to collect a huge reward. However, when I saw what happened to Bin Hawza and when I saw what happened to Ibn al-Ash'ath, I realized Allah has blessed these members, and I rode as soon as I could away from the battlefield, because I knew as soon as I fight them, I would immediately end up in hellfire. There would be no judgment day. I would go soon and immediately into hellfire. Brothers and sisters, soon after this, then the left flank started to defend from the army of Umar ibn Sa'ad, and eventually Zuhair and Abis, Burair and Hajjaj, all of the companions one by one start sacrificing themselves in the way of Abu Abdullah. Soon there were no more companions of Imam al-Hussein. And then of the family members, Ali and al-Akbar came and said, I cannot bear witness to this anymore. Please give me permission, O father, such that I can go and be qurban in front of you. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam says, ask for permission from 3 people before you come to me. He goes and asks for permission, and eventually he is killed in the way of Allah. After him, Qasim goes and says, oh, my uncle Hussein, I have the letter of my father, Imam al-Hassan. I want to be sacrificed in your way, oh Abu Abdullah Hussein. Qasim is only 13 years old. He has a few brothers, but he goes first. When he goes and fights in the way of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, there is no way for him to win, but he kills many people. Eventually, Umar ibn Sa'ad unleashes the entire army on al-Qasim, and his sandal starts to become broken as he bends down and to fix his sandal. That is when the enemies of Allah come behind him and they hit him on the back of the head. He asks for help from his uncle Imam al-Hussein. Imam al-Hussein comes and says, it is sad and hard upon the heart of your uncle that you call upon him, but I'm too late to answer you. You've already gone. Eventually, one after the other, the sons of Aqil, the sons of Ali, the sons of Ja'far, the sons of everybody have now gone. Brothers and sisters, the only person left at this point is Abbas. Abbas wants to see his brothers killed before him, so he sees that they are killed in the way of Hussein. At this point, Abbas now comes to Imam al-Hussein and asks for his permission to fight. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam says, brother, you are the carrier of my liwa, of my banner. He says, but I can't see these people taunt you any longer, fight you any longer, and deprive the children of Hussein from water any longer. I have to do something. He says, oh Abbas, go and fetch water for the children. He does not have the chance to say his farewell to any of the children or the women. At this point, Umar ibn Sa'ad goes and says, 4,000 of you should block his way towards the river. Aywa Abbasa, Aywa Sayyida, Aywa Mawla. At this point, Shimr comes to him and says, "Oh, Abu Turab's son, there is a family connection between me and al-Banin. Therefore, you should consider what I say carefully. Come and join my side." Abbas clearly says to him, "There is no relation between the likes of me and you. You expect me to go and leave the likes of Hussein for the likes of Yazid? Never, wallah." He goes and fights through and gets to the Furat. But as he goes into the cold water and brings up a cup of water in his hands, he starts remembering Imam al-Hussein, and he throws the water back and he recites beautiful poetry. As he goes and fills the jug that is coming back to Sukaina, he comes back on his horse, brothers and sisters. At this point, Zayd ibn Raqqad al-Juhani and Hakim ibn Tufail as-Sundusi had hidden behind the palm trees. Zayd ambushed al-Abbas and cut off the right arm of Abbas. The right arm of Abbas fell on the plains of Karbala. Aywa Abbasa, Aywa Sayyida, Aywa Mawla. He goes and says, "If you try to cut off my right arm, that will not do anything. I will always defend my faith. I will always defend my infallible leader." At this point, Hakim ibn Tufail comes out of the palm tree and jumps on Abbas and cuts off his left arm. The left arm of Abbas now falls to the plains of Karbala. Everybody cry out, "Aywa Abbasa!" 3 times, everybody. "Aywa Abbasa!" Louder, I can't hear you, I can't hear you. "Aywa Abbasa!" As Abbas fell onto the ground and he yelled, "Ay Aba Abdullah, alayka minni salam. I give you my final salams." The author says, I don't know if Imam al-Hussein wanted to come and rescue Abbas or if he had that close brotherly connection, and that's what drew him to Abbas. As Abbas had the blood starting to come into his eye, he saw someone coming, and he says, "Oh man, give me a few moments so that I can bid my final farewell to my brother Hussein." Imam Hussein says, "Oh Abbas, it is me, your brother Hussein. Don't you recognize me?" At this point, he had already fallen to the earth. The enemies of Allah had already hit him with a large pole, and his brains were starting to come out onto the plains of Karbala. His skull was completely open and fractured, just like his father Ali. Imam al-Hussein started audibly crying, and as he's losing Abbas, he says, "I feel like my backbone has been broken. Al-an inkasara dhahri." Abu Abdullah, he says, "Now I see my enemies gloating on top of me. They're now confident because they don't have an Abbas to go through." Eventually, when he comes back to the tent of his family, Sukaina comes up to her father and says, "Where is my uncle Abbas?" Imam al-Hussein informs her of the martyrdom. Zainab overhears Imam al-Hussein and immediately screeches, "I mourn for my brother Abbas. My Abbas, I mourn for you. Now we are in total loss after you." Imam al-Hussein starts crying heavily and wiping away the tears on his shirt and says, "Now we are totally in loss after you, Ya Abbas." At this point, he starts asking, "Hal min nasiri yansuruna? هل من معين يعيننا؟ هل من مغيث يغيثنا?" Imam al-Sajjad asks for a sword and a cane. Zainab brings it to him. Imam al-Hussein tells Zainab al-Asghar al-Kulthum, stop him or Muhammad's descendants will stop right here. She escorts Imam Sajjad back to his mattress. At this point, Zainab al-Kubra comes and says, the other Ali al-Asghar, he has flapped his hands like a bird. The thirst of Karbala has given him nothing left. His mother doesn't have any water. He has ejected himself from his own cradle. Oh, Abu Abdullah, see if there's any water that we can get for him. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam at this point had already started to ask for underwear and pajamas that were unattractive. He starts tearing them apart. He starts changing into these clothes because he knows that once he's going to be killed, the enemies of Allah will try to rob all of his clothes. So for the hurma of his body, he puts on ripped pajamas and undergarments. At this point, Zainab now comes out with the 6-month-old. Aywa Aliya, Aywa Asghar. Imam al-Hussein now rests the infant on his lap and he starts nursing him on his lap. He starts pulling his leg up and down to try to give comfort to the infant. He starts talking to the infant. He says, these people are damned. Your grandfather al-Mustafa shall definitely prosecute them. He then carries the baby, walks in towards the enemies, and asks for water to quench the infant's thirst. At this point, brothers and sisters, this is narrated to us in Ziyarat al-Nahiya al-Muqaddasa as well as Ziyarat al-Rajabiyya. Ziyarat al-Nahiya al-Muqaddasa comes and says, may peace be upon that nursing infant Abdullah, who was savagely slaughtered on his father's lap, whose blood ascended to the heavens. I ask Allah to curse the murderer, Harmala ibn Kahil al-Asadi and his comrades. But what happens in Ziyarat al-Rajabiyya is even worse. Ajrumukullah, Ya Shia of Ali ibn Abi Talib, the Shia of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, Sabran Jamila. Soon Imam al-Hussein will be joined with his grandfather. There's not much left to narrate, brothers and sisters. Soon it will be over. In Ziyarat al-Rajabiyya, it says that Ali al-Asghar was still in the hands of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. He says, may peace be upon you, O infant, that when the arrow came and knocked you out of your father's hands, 1 minute the baby was in the father's hands, the next it's pinned to the floor of Karbala with an arrow. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam says, knowing that Allah is watching over this is the only thing that gives me comfort. Ya Allah, don't consider him any less than that baby of the she-camel of Saleh. My Lord, grant us the bountiful outcome and an empirical victory. Avenge us by destroying these oppressors. You are witness on these people that they murdered the one who was identical to your Prophet Ali al-Akbar. And now they've murdered this Ali al-Asghar. At this point, Imam al-Hussein hears a voice telling him, Ya Hussein, let go of him. He has a wet nurse in Jannah. Imam al-Hussein now steps off his horse and digs with his sword. He buries this completely blood-covered infant and performs the janazah over him. At this point, Imam al-Hussein has no more attachment towards anyone or anything in this life. He bids his farewell towards the family members and he starts marching towards the army of Umar ibn Sa'd. And he starts killing many of them. First, he starts off in one-on-one duels. Brothers and sisters, this is now the shahadat of Imam al-Hussein on the 10th of Ashura and the 10th of Muḥarram. This is now your Imam This is no one other than your infallible Imam. Aywa Husayna, Aywa Imama, Aywa Mazluma, Wa Ghariba, Wa Imama. Let me hear you cry, Wa Imama, 3 times loudly. Aywa Imama. At this point, Imam al-Hussain starts reciting his own poetry. I am Hussein, the son of Ali. I have vowed never to surrender my dignity. I am the one who protects my father's family. I adhere to the Prophet's deen and his religion. At this point, Abdullah ibn Ammar ibn Yaghuth narrates, I have never seen someone with this many masa'ib, who has lost all of his boys, all of his family and companions, who fought more bravely, who fought more strong than Imam al-Hussein with this much determination. Every which way he goes, men run away. Umar ibn Sa'ad now gives this cry. He screams at his soldiers, this is the son of Ali ibn Abi Talib. This is the son of the bravest Arab. Attack him from each and every single direction. At this point, O Shia, 4,000 arrows immediately were launched. They say that the night immediately came at Asr time because of the arrows that filled the sky. At the same time, Umar ibn Sa'd's troops formed a human barrier between Imam and his own camp. Imam goes and screams at them, O Shia al Abi Sufyan, if you are faithless and not afraid of Qiyamah, at least fear this life and honor your asabiyya and your cultural values. If you claim to be real Arabs, Shimar says, Yabna Fatima, what are you trying to say? Imam al-Hussein replies, I am fighting you. Women should never be harmed. Come away from them and stop your thugs from the attack on my women, at least as long as I am alive. Shimar says, we will grant you that as long as you are alive. But as soon as you are dead, know that we will go towards the tents. At this point, Amr ibn Hajjaj, with 4,000 soldiers, had been in full control of the Furat. Imam al-Hussein attacks them and penetrates through their lines. He gets to the river of Furat with his horse. Immediately, the thirst of this horse was so overbearing, he immediately goes into the river to drink. Imam al-Hussein congratulates the horse that you are thirsty and I am thirsty too, and I would never drink before you do. Hearing this, the Imams say that the horse immediately raises its head and stops drinking and starts to admonish itself. How could I drink before the grandson of my prophet? As Imam al-Hussein now takes his turn to come to the water, he scoops up some water with his hand. At this moment, the enemies don't want him to drink the water. They cry out behind him, Ya Hussein, what kind of a man are you that we attack your women and we have fun with your women and you are having fun in the cold water? What kind of a man are you? Imam al-Hussein immediately drops the water. He rushes back to the women and he sees that they were lying and they were giving him a false report. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam now has one final opportunity to bid farewell to the women and the children. He asks all of them to gather around Imam al-Sajjad. He says, bear witness, he is the next Imam after you, and that there is no one better than him on the earth after me. He entrusts all of his affairs to him. He gives the turban of Rasulullah to him. He gives the sword Zulfiqar to him. He gives the signets and all of the signs of Imamah to Imam as-Sajjad. After that, he starts to go and put a new turban and put a new cloak over him. He goes out towards the battlefield. At this point, on top of the horse, he feels someone tugging on his abba. Those small tugs are the hardest and the worst. At this point, Sukaina says, Abba, Abba, before you leave, come and caress me like an orphan, like you did to Hamida, the daughter of Muslim. After this, who will be there for us, Ya Hussein? Imam al-Hussein comes off of the horse and he starts scratching and rubbing the child's head. He sits her down on his lap. At this point, Imam al-Hussein starts telling her, you need to have patience, O Sukaina. After me, there will be many musibas and tragedies. Promise me this, you have to do this for me. At this point, Umar ibn Sa'd tells his soldiers, all of you people in my army are doomed. If you do not attack him while he is busy with his family, by Allah, he will destroy you once he is free. They attack him and they start shooting the arrows. Some of them land into the camp and poke into the tents and clothes of the women. They are absolutely horrified, completely terrified. They start screaming and running into the tents. And they start staring at Imam al-Hussein and waiting for his reaction. At this point, Imam al-Hussein, like a roaring lion, fearlessly attacks the enemies of Allah. One by one, he starts decimating this side and that side. Oh, but Shia of Ali ibn Abi Talib and Imam al-Hussein know that your Imam killed 1,950 people by the end of his battle. As Imam al-Hussein tries to go back towards the camp, he keeps on reciting, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah al-aliyyul azim. He then asks the camp of Umar ibn Sa'd for water. Shimr says, you will never have water in this life. The next water you will have will be from hellfire. Another man comes and says, can't you see that you will never drink from it? You will die thirsty. Imam al-Hussein immediately prays against this man and says, make him die thirsty. In life, they narrated that this man constantly would request water, but immediately would spit it out as soon as he sipped it. And he died from dehydration. Then Abu al-Hatuf al-Ju'fi shot Imam al-Hussein with an arrow in the forehead. Aywa Imama, Aywa Husseina. Imam al-Hussein extracts it and blood starts dripping all over his face. Imam supplicates, he makes dua. Oh Allah, you see how much they're hurting me. You'll see how much they're wounding me. Account for each one of these wounds and never forgive them. He cries out to them, you are an evil community. How disloyal you are to the Prophet for doing this to his family. After me, you will never hesitate to kill anyone. I hope Allah blesses me with martyrdom and he avenges me with your death soon. He says, how will Hussein ibn Numayr comes and asks him, how will he avenge us? He says, he will disunite you and you will kill one another. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam takes a moment to breathe and catch his breath. At this point, O Shia, those who did not have weapons, they pick up rocks and they start stoning your Imam. One of the men threw a rock. It landed on the wound that he just suffered on his forehead. Blood starts dripping all over his face. He grabs his cloak and wipes his blood off his face and his eyes. Another man shot him in the chest with a three-headed arrow. Aywa musibata, aywa imama, aywa sayyida. Imam al-Hussein says, Bismillah, وبالله وعلى ملة رسول الله. He raises his head towards the skies and he says, Ya Rab, you know they are killing someone. There's no one like me left. There's no one like the grandson of Rasulullah. There's no one on the face of the earth who can say that they are the grandson of a prophet. Imam al-Hussain pushes this three-headed arrow further into his chest, and then he lodges it loose, pulls it out from his back, and blood starts gushing out like an open drain tap. Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, he puts his hand underneath the wound until it fills up with blood. He throws up the blood towards the sky and he says, Allah is watching over me. This is the only thing that eases my tragedy. Not one drop of the blood fell back to the ground. Again, a second time he fills up his hand with the same wound's blood. And this time, brothers and sisters, this is something amazing. This is the most difficult moment really of Karbala. Why? Because we all know in fiqh, blood is najis and you cannot do much else with it. Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam takes the blood and he smears his own face and his blood and his beard and he says, Hakada alqa jaddi Rasulullah. This is how I will meet my grandfather Rasulullah, and this is how I will complain against you people. Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam knows these rules better than anyone. He himself drenches his blood into his beard. At this point, heavy bleeding exhausted Imam al-Hussain. He decides to sit on the ground and he starts to fall over onto the ground of Karbala. His neck is bent. Malik ibn al-Nisr attacks him and curses him and strikes the holy head with the sword. Blood starts coming out from the head of Imam al-Hussain and starts soaking his turban. He told Malik, you shall never eat or drink with your right hand, and Allah shall hurt you with the oppressors. Imam al-Hussain takes off his turban and throws it away. He keeps his cap on his head. Out of respect for Imam al-Hussain, I too will take off my cap. At this point, he's not able to stand up anymore. Imam al-Hussain sits on the ground. After a brief lull, now he's rocking back and forth. You know what happens when you lose a little bit of blood. What happens when the blood starts rushing out of you, gushing out of you like a flood? At this point, all of his enemies start surrounding him and they start getting closer and closer to him. At this point, from the tents of Imam al-Hussain, Abdullah, the son of Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam, he's only 10 or 11 years old. He comes out and he sees the enemies approaching his uncle. He runs towards him. Zainab tries to stop the boy, but he's able to slip away. He reaches his uncle. While Bahr ibn Ka'b was about to swing his sword and kill Imam al-Hussain, the boy screams, "You evil man! How dare you hurt my uncle?" Ajrakum Allah, Ajrakum Allah. You guys and I cannot cry continuously. That's only for one man, Imam Zainul Abidin, the one who cried for 34 years after Karbala. Whenever he would see a sheep being slaughtered, he would ask, "Did you give it water?" Do you know the rights of slaughtering a sheep? That you don't let its family see it, that you don't do it at night, you do it with a sword that is sharp. But my father, he was killed with a dull dagger. He was not given water. All of his family were there, and every single person that made him think he would finally die, they teased him and they would not kill him. He waited and waited for death and waited. Who was going to kill me? He's in pain this whole time until finally he was killed. This is Imam Zainul Abidin's crying. You cannot match his crying. Take a deep breath, brothers and sisters. Take a deep breath. Ajrukum ala Allah. Ajrukum ala Allah. Ka'b swings his sword towards Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam. I will recite this slowly so that you can close your eyes and imagine that you are there witnessing this. Witness this from Zainab's point of view, from Tilla Zainabiyya. Witness this, those of you who have gone to Karbala. Where is the place where Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam was beheaded? That is where this is happening now. He hits Abdullah ibn Hassan, but he blocks it with his arm and he loses his arm. All his arm is hanging by is the skin. The boy starts screaming in pain, "My uncle, help me." He falls onto Imam al-Hussein's lap. Hussein hugs him and he says, "My nephew, just keep on persevering. Count on the reaping of goodness and rewards for your injuries. Allah will reunite you with your fathers who are pure." Imam al-Hussein raises his hands and supplicates, "Ya Allah, how long will their joy be? Divide them now. Let them start killing each other. Never let the rulers be kind to them. They invited us to Kufa. They told us that they would support us. Instead, they betrayed us and they want to now kill us." Harmala ibn Kahil then shot the boy with an arrow, slaughtering him on his uncle's land. At this point, Imam al-Hussein lay still. He is now not able to move. He's lost too much blood. He's starting to become still. Umar ibn Sa'ad's soldiers could have easily just let him die like this. Even then, they wanted the honor in front of Yazid to be the one to kill Imam al-Hussein. At this point, Shimr starts screaming, "Why are you standing still? Let the man have some ease. Kill him now. What are you waiting for? Our spears and our arrows have badly wounded the man." May Allah give you sabr over what I'm about to narrate. There's only one time a year that I have the strength to narrate this. Zar'a ibn Sharik now starts beating up with his fists Imam al-Hussein's left shoulder, while Hussein ibn Numair shot an arrow directly into the mouth of Imam al-Hussein. Another man came with his dagger and started to stab the upper shoulder of Imam al-Hussein. Sinan ibn Anas now comes with his dagger, stabs him into his collarbone, right underneath the neck, right underneath the throat. He stabs him directly underneath the throat. Then he takes out his bloody dagger and he starts stabbing him multiple times into the ribs of Imam al-Hussein. Then he stands up and from close distance he draws his arrow, pulls it back, and he takes aim into the neck of Imam al-Hussein and he fires directly into the neck of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. After that, Salih ibn Wahab came and stabbed him in the side. Hilal ibn Nafi' narrates, "I was sort of close. I was relatively close to Hussein shortly before he died. By Allah, he was totally drenched with blood. And yet, his face was more beautiful and radiant than anything that I have ever seen. He was reciting sometimes Surah Yasin, sometimes Surah Al-Fajr, sometimes this Surah, sometimes that Surah. As bad as his condition was, his beauty radiated through, and it was this same beauty that distracted me completely from the thought of killing this man. I kept on thinking to myself, what a beautiful face this is." At this point, Imam al-Hussein starts seeing people come closer to him, trying to gain the courage to go and kill him. And he starts asking, "If even you, just before you kill me, just answer me this, could you give me a sip of water? If you give me water, I will do shafa'ah for you." This man came and told him, never, you will die thirsty. Another man came and told him, you will next drink from Hamim, from the river in hellfire. Hussein says, me in hellfire? No, I will be with my grandfather, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. I will be next to him in a special seat, next to the seats that Allah has reserved for His Majesty. I shall complain to him about what you did to me. At this point, brothers and sisters, the horse of Imam al-Hussain is next to him. It starts to rub its face into the holy blood of Imam al-Hussain. Umar ibn Sa'ad says, catch the horse. It's one of the horses descended from Rasulullah's horse. So the horsemen start to encircle it. The horse kicks and stampedes those who fell off their horses. It kills 40 men and 10 horses. Ibn Sa'ad now screams, let it go. Let's see what it does. Once they stopped, it came back to Imam al-Hussain. It started to sniff the holy blood. It rubbed its forehead into the blood of Imam al-Hussain, and it started neighing like a crazy horse. Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam translates for us. He says the neighing of this horse was meaning to say, how oppressive, how oppressive, how oppressive is the ummah of Imam al-Hussain towards Imam al-Hussain. This is the state of the ummah of Rasulullah. How is this possible? It runs back to the camp of Imam al-Hussain. But when the women see that there's no rider, they start beating their faces and head. Zainab al-Kubra comes and says, Ya Muhammad, Ya Abata, Ya Ali, Ya Ja'far, Ya Hamza, this is Hussein. Look at how he is open in the plains of Karbala. She then yells, I wish that the sky would fall and the entire earth would break apart based on what I am seeing of Hussein and his state. She starts walking from Till al-Zainabiyah towards Imam al-Hussain. Oh, Shia of Imam al-Hussain. عظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم. This is the final moment of Imam al-Hussain. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, for what I'm about to narrate to you. She comes and she says, Omar, how can you watch Abu Abdullah being murdered like this? Umar ibn Sa'ad now turns his tears away from her and she says, may Allah damn you all. Is there not a single Muslim amongst you? No one answered. Umar ibn Sa'ad now screams to his soldiers, get on with it already and end this suffering. Sinan comes, but his arm starts trembling. Another man comes and tries to kill Imam al-Hussain. His hand starts trembling. Shimr now comes off of his horse. He says, you weaklings, I will show you how it's done. On this moment, Shimr comes and sits on the chest of Imam al-Hussain. At this point, he grabs the beard of Imam al-Hussain and he pulls him off of the ground. Imam al-Hussain smiles at him and says, do you really not know who I am? Shimr says, Bala, I know exactly who you are. You are the son of Rasulullah. You are the son of Ali al-Murtada. You are the son of Fatima al-Zahra. Your uncle is Hamza. Your uncle is Ja'far. Your avenger is Allah, the one who is the king of the universe. I don't care about any of that. I want to be the one who says to Yazid, I killed you. At this point, he starts turning Imam Hussain towards his side so that he can have easier access to the back of Imam al-Hussein's neck. Oh, Shia of Imam Hussain, Have patience on what I'm about to narrate to you. He takes out the khanjar. He takes out the soft dagger. It's a dull dagger. It's not even sharp. He comes from behind Imam al-Hussein's neck and he starts running the blade this way and that way on the neck of Imam al-Hussain 12 times. He starts hitting the neck of Imam al-Hussain. It starts to come off, but it's not enough because it's not sharp. Eventually, even after the 12th strike of the dagger, Imam al-Hussein's head is not coming off. So Shimr goes and rips it violently off with his fist. I wish this was the end. After this, they come to Imam al-Hussain and they want the ring of Imam al-Hussain and they start to saw the finger of Imam al-Hussain off. They start to rob the clothes of Imam al-Hussain. They rob the turban of Imam al-Hussain. They rob everything. Then Imam al-Hussein's hands. They start sawing off his hands. They saw off his toes and then his feet. Then his legs. Then the rest of his arms. What is left of Imam al-Hussain after they've been finished with him? وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. مات حسين، مات حسين يا حسين.